this episode of Mike Crispy Unafraid, RFK Jr. overhauls the food supply in America. We're going to talk about the historic events. And you know what? Have government officials been ignoring this for a long time? And has that contributed to childhood disease? Did they look the other way? And should there be some accountability for that? We're also going to talk about a man who has no accountability, Zelensky. Okay, a brand new ceasefire talk has broken down. Last night it was reported that it was going to happen, and now it broke down. We're going to talk about why that is, all that and so much more. I want to welcome everybody to this very special edition of the show today. It is Wednesday, and I need you to help us get this party started today by rumbling this video. That is a thumbs up on the browser. That is a thumbs up on the mobile app. You click it, you hit it, you tap it, you share this, you get us to the top of these Rumble leaderboards because it is the only place that we belong. So we got a big show for you today. I'm ready. Producer Frankie's ready. You better be too. And let's go. Hello, everybody. Mike Crispy here, coming live from New York. It is Wednesday. It is April 23rd, and I'm joined in studio by the one and only. He's the most based producer in the game, and you know what? He's so dedicated. Even though it's sunny outside in New York, the weather's good, he stays in his lair producing and working 24/7. The sunshine, he has not, but it doesn't matter, okay? He's working, he's grinding. Look at this guy in the little blacked out box there. Producer Frankie, how we doing?
You know, it's good to be here, Mike. Thank you for pointing out that I am in a place that does not have windows to the outside elements, which does get a little bit, let's just say I get a little confused at times. I don't know what time it is.
A little confused. Yeah. Is it dark? Is it light? Doesn't matter to Frankie. All Frankie cares about is producing amazing, conservative-based political content. Let's go. And you know, Frankie and I have been at this for a while, and really from the start of our days of podcasting, you know, we have covered what has gone on in Ukraine. Well, some people on television and even on podcasts have defended Zelensky and at some point made him a hero before they got hip to the fact that it was a money laundering scam. Smart people have been knowing that it was a scam all along. And I've always said this, and it bears some repeating right now, because I think we're getting towards the end of this, and I want to remind people, it's not for me to brag. It's not for me to say that I'm smarter than everybody else. It's not for me to say that, you know, people like me who were saying I told you so from the beginning are right and everyone else was wrong. But here's the deal. Any podcaster you watch who ever simped for Ukraine is either stupid and therefore shouldn't be trusted as a news source, or they were somehow, you know, in on it in some way, told to say something by somebody else, because this was so obvious from the start. And years later, it continues on as a scam. And years later, we still don't have a deal. And President Trump said when he came into office, he would make it a priority to make a good deal for everybody, to which Ukraine, okay, kind of dug their heels in and said, well, our terms are our terms. And Russia, the big bad country that everyone has villainized and demonized and chastised over the years, have said, oh no, they'll never come to the table. But when Trump came in, they said, we want to improve U.S.-Russia relations. As a matter of fact, I don't have the picture, but did you see, Frankie, that Putin, when Trump got in, he sent him this painting. He gave it to his special envoy, Steve Witkoff. And they made this big, beautiful painting of him. The number one painter in Russia painted him this beautiful painting of him, you know, like in the aftermath of the assassination attempt, like this beautiful painting. Where was Zelensky's painting? Freaking guy couldn't even show up wearing a suit. But, you know, Putin sends the painting and people go, oh, well, you know, he's doing that because he's trying to play Trump for a sucker. And it's funny. Every time that another country wants to make deals on a good term, they always just say that country is playing Trump for a sucker. So let me get this straight. Somebody who's trying to, in good faith, make good gestures to find common ground, to make a deal, to make everybody look good, according to the fake news media, that's somebody trying to play somebody for a sucker. And somebody who is a little self-entitled brat, that person is actually our greatest ally. Make it make sense, Frankie. Make it make sense, audience. Make it make sense, world. You can't make it make sense. I've had enough of it. And this is something that I felt very passionately about for a while, because I've known that this is one of the worst examples of the money launder. And, you know, I've always been worried that we would end up sending troops one day into Ukraine. I don't think that that's obviously going to happen now that we have Trump, and I don't think this can possibly last for another 4 years. This ruse of a conflict. But what I do think is happening right now is I do think that in the late stages of this, I do think that as the negotiations going on with Trump in there, I do think that Zelensky answers to somebody else other than his own people. That's a big statement. Putin, again, Putin is Putin, and Putin doesn't really answer to anybody, but, Putin has the Kremlin, and Putin is the leader of his country, and there's no dispute of that. Mike, you're a Russian asset for insinuating that Putin is the leader of his country. Yeah, he is. How's that Russian propaganda? The guy is the leader of his country. Zelensky is not the leader of his country. Zelensky is a puppet of globalist interests, always has been, always will be. He's not the leader of his people, because his people want this to be over. But it's not ending. Despite the fact that, as Trump said, you start a war with a country 20 times your size, and then you get walloped, and then you say the only way for us to survive is to keep getting billions of dollars, of which 90% of the money isn't reaching the front lines. So we need to continue this on. He goes, that's kind of weird. So it was reported last night, and this is where we find ourselves right now. It was reported last night that there was an agreement in principle to a ceasefire. And this came on the heels of Rubio, Secretary of State, landing in London for some new and renewed talks. Here was Marco Rubio yesterday. Roll it.
I think it's important to remind everybody that the Ukraine war is a terrible thing, but it's not our war. We didn't start it. The United States has been helping Ukraine for over the last 3 years, and we want it to end. But it's not our war. I want everyone to understand that. And the reason why I make that point is the president has spent 87 days at the highest level of his government repeatedly taking efforts to bring this war to an end. We are now reaching a point where we need to decide and determine whether this is even possible or not, which is why we're engaging both sides. As you know, Ambassador Witkoff has had not one, not two, but 3 meetings with Vladimir Putin to determine the Russian perspective on this and understand what it would take for them to end it. We, through General Kellogg, myself, and others, have had repeated engagements with the Ukrainians. So we came here yesterday to sort of begin to talk about more specific outlines of what it might take to end the war, to try to figure out very soon, and I'm talking about a matter of days, not a matter of weeks, whether or not this is the war that can be ended. If it can, we're prepared to do whatever we can to facilitate that and make sure that it happens, that it ends in a durable and just way. If it's not possible,
all right. So if it's not possible, then there you go. It's not possible. Then you cut off the aid, and then it's over. Ukraine will inevitably get toppled over. Hundreds of thousands of people will die. And then the people who called Russia a terrorist state will continue to do so, despite the fact that Ukraine has launched offensive into Russia multiple times, despite the fact that you have a landmass, okay? You have this land region, essentially this is what this is over, is that this land region in Ukraine, for a little refresher here, voted years ago to become part of Russia. Okay, they're all Russian speaking. They all are part of the Russian, Orthodox Church and all that. And this disputed land in an election voted to become part of Russia. What does Ukraine gain from keeping them as part of their country? They gain nothing. So this group of people ethnically is part of Russia, wants to join Russia. I don't see the big deal in that. I mean, what is Ukraine gaining by keeping that? They have no jurisdiction over it to begin with. And then 2, NATO. They want NATO. They want NATO membership. So all Putin has said was no NATO membership, and then we could talk about the land, and you could have this, and I could have that. And this thing has been in dispute for, 20 years, some of this landmass. It was proposed, and in principle, they say, agreed to. Again, another instance of Zelensky allegedly agreeing to something. And I went to bed last night and saw that. Again, London, different time zone, it's 6 hours ahead. I go to bed, I see it. Late night, I see the X activity. And then I wake up this morning and I check the news and it's changed. I said, that's unbelievable. Another instance of this. Another instance. And then all they do is go, well, Putin didn't want to, give this concession. The USA proposed it. And you know Zelensky isn't dealing in good faith when he talks about the NATO thing. Look at what Nikki Haley had to say. This represents the neocon, warhawk, globalist agenda right here. Russian President Vladimir Putin rejected Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky's proposal for a temporary moratorium on long-range strikes against civilian infrastructure. Declined Zelensky's offer to extend Putin's own 30-hour Easter truce. Hold on a minute. Declined Zelensky's offer to extend Putin's 30-hour long Easter truce and attempted to justify recent Russian strikes against civilian targets in Ukraine. Putin reiterated his rejection of the full ceasefire that Zelensky and the U.S. have offered. Russia started this war and has been the aggressor and violator in the conflict. Ukraine deserves the right to defend itself. How many more times will they lie about this thing with self-defense? Again, if it was self-defense, they wouldn't have launched strikes within Russia, and they wouldn't have pushed for the NATO membership, which they have done repeatedly. The USA has offered multiple times a deal where the land is carved up. Again, like in dispute land. It's not Ukraine's land, and not all of it is Russia's land. It's really just in dispute land. I know it's tough for people to grasp in this country because the United States of America, it's like the United States, but around the world, there's a lot of countries and land masses that are in dispute. So if you say, all right, we're going to divide this up, we're going to abide by these treaties, going to go like this, there has to be give and take. People like Nikki Haley say it's Ukraine's way or no way. When Putin stops this war, it'll be over. When Putin gives in, and it's a disingenuous starting point when those people say that. It's disingenuous. When Putin gives in, hold on a minute. So if you're having a war and you're going to negotiate any deal or end of a war, a deal, does one side get everything and the other side's happy and just backs down? That only happens when somebody gets killed and dies. It's not practical, Frankie. So when they say that, it's good for the clapping seals or the low IQ people on MSNBC or CNN. Oh yeah, Putin's got to back down completely. That's when this war will be over. But in reality, when you have a massive country that's 10 times the size as Ukraine, you don't just have the other side just go, all right, sorry, we lose. Hey, USA said it. The liberals on MSNBC said it. This will be over when we fully surrender. Okay, yeah, we fully surrender. Come on.
It's crazy that
disingenuous and stupid.
It's crazy that people could hear the rhetoric coming out of Nikki Haley and not think, oh, like clearly she's sponsored by weapons contractors. You know, it's like, it's so funny when these people, these neocons, try to bend it. Like, look at this horrible person. We must not stop fighting. It's like you want, no question, like that you want people to die. Doesn't matter which side you're talking about. You want people to die. It's just at this point, you know, Vivek obviously. He had his role at that RNC debate that me and you had the honor of attending. You know, he had that good role of pointing out these things, but I just hope that the public doesn't forget when they see these stupid headlines and tweets.
I tell you, Frankie, I really hope they don't forget. And, you know, Frankie and I famously were sitting in the crowd at the RNC debate, of which we were covering with Rumble. Again, this was the debate that Trump, you know, pulled out of. He wasn't part of it. It was the right move. But, you know, Rumble was sponsoring it. It agreed to sponsor it, you know, a year prior. We were there covering it with LFA TV. And Frankie and I were in the crowd watching. And we're just like, this is absurd, the way that people clap on Nikki Haley. It must have been the weapons contractors, the people who made money adjacent to it. The party people and the donors clapping on Nikki Haley's provocative and Chris Christie's provocative rhetoric, essentially advocating for mass death and destruction. Because that's all you get when you talk like that. It's not based in reality. It's based in what I call comic book land. That's what it is. It's comic book land. When the bad guy surrenders, nobody's a bad guy, nobody's a good guy. Everyone should know that by just looking at the fact that Joe Biden, an illegitimate vegetable president, presided over a unchecked deep state that had us not really exactly the good guys for a number of years. And you know what's funny is that everybody will say that, you know, on our side, but they won't say that about other countries. They won't say that about other wars. Pretty interesting. Nobody's a good guy and nobody's a bad guy. There's just guys. I think the MAGA movement, the real MAGA people are the good guys, but 95% of the time around the world, no good guys. No bad guys. Everyone's just guys advocating for something. And it's up to us in our own sphere to be pragmatic and get the best thing possible for us. That's grown-up talk. Now, want to put this on the screen here, Frankie, is that this is what, again, came out. So I talked about the fact that Rubio lands in London, and then he lands in London, and then, coming off of that, he says he wants to engage in the talks. They talk about, the meeting between Special Envoy Witkoff and Putin, and Rubio then leaves. Rubio arrives, Rubio leaves. And Rubio did the right thing, because what are you going to do as the Secretary of State gets shown up by some little puppet leader? You're going to arrive, you're going to sit down at the table. Again, this is Zelensky's bullshit that he pulled last time, just in a different way. He demands that he needs to come to the Oval Office. He says he's going to sign the minerals deal. This guy said he was going to sign the deal last week. Again, there was rumblings coming out that Zelensky was going to sign the minerals deal. Finally, we've been hearing about this minerals deal for weeks, for months. Did he sign the minerals deal? No. Again, there was renewed talks in the last 96 hours that he was going to sign the minerals deal. No minerals deal. No minerals deal. But we heard about it again. Kind of weird how it got dangled out there, Frankie. Again. It got dangled out there again. And then our top leaders go meet with him again. This time Rubio overseas, our Secretary of State. And for the second time that they try to get everybody in, they pull a ruse. And in the last minute, they change up the terms that have been talked about. This is the second time that Zelensky's done it on a major level, showing again that he doesn't answer to himself and his people. Yes, Frank.
Yeah, Mike. And, people don't realize, or I don't think the majority realize, Ukraine and Russia are very different in the way that, Russia is a very, developed nation, in most parts. And, Ukraine is very, I don't know, let's use sketchy. I believe there's still, a lot of, call it the mob. But, it's not run by, it's very corrupt. And I guarantee you, they have all these local people there with a lot of money that are saying to Zelensky, you better add us. You better add a little piece of us in this deal with the U.S. You better do this. We know where you live. You're not getting away. We control everything. He's 100% getting thrown from every angle to a point where he's going to realize that he's going to have to, leave the country and go into hiding or just deal with it.
And Frankie, it's funny is that you make a good point, and a low IQ leftist would take that, clip that, and go, "Oh, Frankie said that Ukraine is more corrupt. Have you ever seen the Kremlin? Have you ever seen Russia?" It's hold on a minute. Russia operates from the top down, and everybody knows it.
Exactly.
Okay? So when it comes to a deal going on, you could call the Kremlin corrupt, you could call the Kremlin unethical, but when the Kremlin makes a decision, it goes like this, top down. That's who calls the shot. Zelensky is here, and then you have here, 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 and then people from overseas each kind of sticking their fingers in the middle of it and meddling in it and pulling everything in 50 different directions.
Thank you.
That is the distinction that Frankie is talking about right here. It's a very important distinction to notate. Very important. And that is what this all boils down to. So Rubio leaves, and I think that is a sign that I don't know if there will be a deal. And I think at this point, if you're Trump, I think Frankie you just say, you know what? How about this? We will agree to Russia's terms. We will start trading with Russia. We will establish ties with them diplomatically and trade. Yeah, we don't have any trade relationship with Russia. These idiots on MSNBC were like, oh, well, why didn't Trump put Russia on the tariffs list? Yeah, he didn't put them on the tariffs list because we don't do any trade with them. It's obvious. So put them on there, start doing it, and F the haters. That's what I say. F the haters. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we're gonna hold our RFK stuff for a little bit because we got a lot to talk about on that. But we're going to take a quick break right now. Do not go anywhere.
Beautiful. Does anyone notice that Mike might have a new mic and it sounds fantastic? Shout out if you notice some audio difference. in the chat.
I really want to listen to it, but I can't do that. I'm gonna have to wait till the end of the show. For those in the chat, and we're gonna have a how about we'll do a little live chat, little chit chat, Frankie. How about that? We'll
Love
do a little chit chat. We got our guest coming on at 10:30, and then after that, we'll get back into our RFK story, which again I know many of you are going to want to hear about. Big stuff coming out of HHS yesterday. The big stuff that used to come out of HHS used to be Rachel Randy Levine waddling into a room, the 380-pound, man, woman. But now we have big, real things coming. That's why Mike's voice sounds more melodious, says Kit Kat Mar. Kit Kat Mar for using the word melodious, I think. You are the viewer of the day. How about that? I love it. I just named Kit Kat Mar the viewer of the day. Sorry, Log. Sorry, pal. Better luck tomorrow.
Love you, Log.
Kit Kat Mar, melodious. Do I sound more melodious today? Can somebody let me know? I don't know if people can tell, but it's funny. We do have some melodious. Okay, sorry. You're still the viewer of the day, even though you're trying to pronounce it for me. It's funny because I get, obviously messages and DMs and stuff like that. And, a lot of people now who watch me on Real America's Voice, by the way, shout out to Real America's Voice. Check me out on Real America's Voice Saturday nights, 8 o'clock p.m. Last Call with Mike Crispy. And, of course, Italian-American hero, producer Frankie, and our star-studded panel. If you guys aren't watching, you should watch because, it's how you should spend a Saturday night. I mean, how can you not spend a Saturday night like that? It's the most fun way no matter what you're doing on a Saturday night. 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. It is your place to be. You tune in. You got me, Frankie, and we always have two panelists on, for a chunk of the show to get a little round robin discussion going on. And then Frankie and I do a segment where it's like him and I going back and forth, like in the thing. And then obviously when a monologue, and then we have a good time, and it's upbeat. It's a little humorous, a little off color, and it's great. People love it. People love Last Call. Okay, we're not the same as any other show. I think we're a unique breed, a unique brand out there, and we're on Real America's Voice exclusively Saturday nights at 8 o'clock. But we do have all these new viewers who watch us now. Somebody said, Mike, where can we watch back last time's episode of Last Call? I'm pissed. So Last Call, Rav, did Parker ever get back to you, Frankie? I mean, he's a busy guy.
It's a negative.
He might have not have.
It's a busy man.
But they made a mistake. They made a mistake where they started the individual stream of our show at the wrong time, so people have not been able to find the playback. We will air the playback tomorrow. Right, Frankie? We're gonna air the playback of last week's Last Call. We're gonna air that tomorrow on this page. So, lo and behold, if you wait till tomorrow at this time, we will air Last Call for you. And I think that Rav will not make that mistake again. They made a little technical thing where basically they just they aired the 7 o'clock because they have the individual streams on the Real America's Voice channel. So accidentally, they just had the 7 o'clock show or 8 o'clock, but they had the 7 o'clock show airing on our stream slot. It aired live on Rav on the TV network, but in that little individual stream slot, they accidentally had Wayne Allen Root. But don't worry, again, little error. Next week, everything's going to be great. And tomorrow, we will show you Last Call on a replay. So you will not miss it. It's going to be great. Last Call. And we're going to have some good guests on tomorrow. And the show rolls on. But people always chirp at me. And somebody was saying, two people said this to me, Frankie, and it got me kind of in a tizzy. They said, Mike Crispy, we love you. You're great. One guy was in the TV industry, works for a major network. He called me up. And then another person was just a fan. And they said, oh, I watch your show. And they both said, Mike, it sounds like you're broadcasting out of a closet, because it's so echoey and all that. And so people say that, and I did move. Okay, I'm obviously doing the show now. We have this set up in my house now, and then Frankie's at our studio. So we have this thing going on, and so Frankie and I buy these sound panels. It makes it a little bit better, but it's still a little bit of a problem. I go yesterday from Jersey into New York City. I go to the very famous B&H Photography, and I buy a $500 microphone, okay? So we were using a $60 microphone. I just bought a $500 microphone. So support our sponsors, okay? Because nobody paid, we don't have the big bucks rolling in. I did that in my own money, and I said, okay, we gotta give the people better audio quality. So this little sucker right here,
don't touch
$500 microphone. Okay. The last one was $60. Now I got a $400 microphone. So
It's got the
support
Brett
our
Baer,
sponsors
the Brett Baer
to-
treatment.
who
we
make
call it.
this possible. This is what they use on Fox News. Actually, Frankie, who is super dialed in on this stuff, is like focused. You know, when like you watch Jesse Waters or Brett Baer, Frankie like kind of watches it, but he's watching the graphics, the effects, and the microphones. Like, so that's how he knew what to get. One of a kind. So.
It is it's a gift or a
Yeah.
curse? I don't know, but I can't turn it off.
Gift or curse. So he can't turn it off. So we have the new mic, and hopefully you guys like it. And last call is going to be great this weekend, I promise, because it's great every week, and I have so much fun doing it. And I want to tell you guys about our first sponsor, who's making all of this possible, who is also sponsoring Last Call, and those are our friends on over at the Smart Health Plan. Guys, are you fed up? And this is a very, very important one. I noticed a huge problem with a lot of people just in the country where they don't have health insurance. They don't have good health insurance. Their employer doesn't offer it, and they just don't have it. They're kind of relying on Medicaid or whatever, or Medicare, and it's just not good, guys. The illegals are now sucking off and mooching off that system, and you can say it's not right all you want, but if something happens to you, you're gonna need something more than to just say this isn't right. I'm telling you, trust me. Are you fed up with health insurance premiums that drain your wallet? Guys, introducing the Smart Health Plan. Say goodbye to big insurance and government control. Say hello to huge monthly premium savings, a nationwide PPO network, and unlimited doctor visits and low copays. Yes, unlimited doctor visits and low copays. They're not going to limit you. They're not going to charge you a ton when you go. Unlimited free access to telemedicine, very important thing. Okay, that's instant service in your home from doctors. And comprehensive catastrophic coverage, as if you have to go to the hospital, designed to protect your family from the financial consequence of serious illness or injury. Guys, 6 in 10 bankruptcies in this country. I know it's hard to believe, but it comes from somebody who has unexpected medical bills, okay? So be very careful. Catastrophic coverage is your safety net from that. If you are facing COBRA, or if you're self-employed, or you just need a better deal for your family, or even for your small business, you have a small business with less than 50 people, the Smart Health Plan has your back, and I'm telling you, it is for you, okay? It is the ultimate solution for you, your family, or even your small team. If you want more info, visit thesmarthealthplan.com right now, the website on the screen, or call my friend Barry at 833-752-6742. That's the Smart Health Plan, 833-752-6742. Do it right now. Don't wait. Get in touch with them today. I'm telling you, very important to have health insurance. Go to thesmarthealthplan.com. How we doing, Frankie?
Fantastic. Got our guest.
Beautiful.
Loaded him in.
Beautiful. Amazing. Wonderful. Well, appreciate everybody who's joining. Guys, make sure if you are, I'm waiting for that. I don't see it yet, Frankie, on my end. Still seeing NDI 3. If you guys are joining us, make sure you click the Rumble, which is the thumbs up on the browser and the thumbs up on the mobile app. Make sure you tap that right now and rumble this stream here and help us continue our growth of our show here, a top 100 podcast on Apple and Spotify, as you know, and always on the Rumble charts. So let's do a little live chat shout out as we get this going here. We'll do one more minute. Alex Ann, good to see you. Vintage, what's going on? Denlo, a lot of people in the chat are asking me about these wildfires in New Jersey. What's going on? Actually, it's funny. Yesterday, I was, as many people know, I have a house in Ocean County. It is my primary residence, and it was happening a little bit south of where my home is. So very bizarre how these fires just massively broke out, and I was pretty alarmed to see the fact that they literally just shut down the Garden State Parkway. That almost never happens, where they just completely shut down a large swath of the Garden State Parkway. So I saw that. I said, "What's going on? Are these arsonists? Is this wildfires?" But for them to shut it down and for it still to be going, obviously we're going to get more information. But while we're getting more information, just prayers out there to everybody who is in harm's way. It really was a bizarre scene when I was watching from an area that I know very, very well. So be safe, and we'll report on that on our next show on what's going on as I get some more information. Let's get back into it, Frankie.
I love it. We are on in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And And welcome back to the show, everybody. Mike Crispy here. And I want to tell you guys, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Shen Yun. And oftentimes on this show, we talk about the way that China and the Communist Party of China has been just a massive detriment and thorn of our side in many ways to this country. Unfortunately, because of that, a lot of people, when they look at China and think about China, there is this sentiment that they associate China, meaning Xi Jinping and the CCP, with the country. So the communist nation and the country, they associate it together. And I've always said that it's an unfair connection because just like the United States under the Biden regime, you don't associate America with Joe Biden. Okay, you associate America with the people who make this country great. And in the New York tri-state area, there has been an amazing show that has captured the hearts and minds of many, and many people have seen it. And we've talked about it on the show. We talked about it right before opening day. And that is Shen Yun, which is traveling the country right now and really doing something I think that is very important, and that is reshaping the narrative, okay, on the difference between China and the good people of China and distancing itself from the people in the CCP who have been against Shen Yun, who have been against spreading the message of freedom-loving, amazing people expressing their culture. And those are the good Chinese people who have really carried these traditions into 2025 and beyond with this amazing show. So I want to bring on our guest here, who is the Shen Yun Performing Arts Master of Ceremonies. Li Shai Lamish joins us right now. What is going on, sir? Good to have you on the program. And, I want to ask you because, people who watch Saturday Night Live, they see in SNL, if they're watching it, the Chinese trade minister said what he does at night unwinding is being a heckler at Shen Yun. So let me ask you this. For people out there who are following what the CCP is doing, tell us why the Chinese Communist Party, very much our enemy in many ways, why are they against free, expressive performing arts here in the United States? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, well, I love the way you introduced it, which is basically the conflation of the idea of China and the Chinese Communist Party. And, Americans who mix these two up are not really to blame. This is something that the CCP has deliberately done for decades, is try to confuse these two ideas to the point that if you criticize the Chinese Communist Party or Xi Jinping for anything, they say you're anti-Chinese, you're even racist. If you start asking questions about where did this pandemic come from, what about fentanyl? They say, oh, you're anti-China, you're anti-Chinese. And so that's something they deliberately tried to do. And what Shen Yun does is actually show China before communism. And it does this through classical Chinese dance, an art form that's been around for thousands of years. It's as ancient as Chinese martial arts, very similar in some ways. And through music, a live orchestra, and animated backdrops, and through stories, really a lot of storytelling. As an MC, I come on stage, I introduce the next piece, and you have this beautiful art with animated backdrops and live orchestra. And it's really amazing. But this is not what we set out to do, is actually say, hey, we're anti-Chinese Communist Party. We're going to show you, what the Chinese Communist Party is. That's not really our main mission. The mission of the performance is to revive traditional Chinese culture, is really to bring back this heritage that has been lost, that the Chinese Communist Party had tried to destroy deliberately, especially since it came to power in 1949 under Mao and all the various regimes that the political campaigns that they've had. And so by showing China before communism, to get back to your questions, we are giving people a chance to imagine a China without communism, a free China, a China where tradition and freedom and love and positive values, rather than struggle and espionage and violence and fear and intimidation and propaganda and brainwashing, all the stuff that's happening there now. And so the Chinese Communist Party is terrified of this.
Yeah, and so much so that, they've even called in bomb threats. I mean, think about it. They've called in bomb threats in California and at the Kennedy Center. So what has been going on? Yep. They've been threatening for years now, been threatening you guys on U.S. soil. So why do you think it is? I mean, again, why do you think they don't want this out there? Again, it's like the tradition. You would think that even if they're trying to change the country and go full communist, that they would at least not have anything against the tradition of where it comes from. Why are they so against this being shown, and why are they going to these great lengths to do bomb threats and stuff like that?
All right, that's the billion-dollar question. So let's break it down real quick. That's what everyone wants to know. Why we're getting bomb threats from agents or people associated with the Chinese Communist Party against a Chinese show. So number one, you got to start with Shenyun is based in the United States, in New York. We're in the Hudson Valley, a couple hours outside the city. We're an American company created by American citizens, a lot of them. And this is not something that the Chinese Communist Party controls. They love monopoly. They want to monopolize, not the game, but the concept. They want to monopolize the narrative on Chinese culture. What is China? What is really Chinese? And so you have a company that's doing something out of their control with its own narrative. They're not going to like that to begin with. That's number one. Number two, Shenyun was founded by people who practice Falun Gong meditation. So this is a spiritual discipline. It has 5 exercises. It was very, very popular in China in the 1990s. The principles are truthfulness, compassion, forbearance, which the Chinese Communist Party found a threat. They said, we can't have people practicing truthfulness and compassion and forbearance. We have to have people struggle and brainwash each other and lie. And so in 1999, the Chinese government estimated there were 70 to 100 million people practicing Falun Gong in China. Many of them were party members and top individuals in the government. In fact, members of the Standing Committee of the Politburo, the 7 standing members, these are the leaders, all had family members who practiced Falun Gong. They knew it wasn't a problem. But the chairman at the time, Jiang Zemin, said, nope, we're going to ban this. And he pitted the Chinese Communist Party against Falun Gong. And he said, this was widely quoted at the time, if the Chinese Communist Party cannot defeat Falun Gong, it'll be the biggest embarrassment to Marxism and the Chinese Communist Party. And they said, we're going to crush it in 3 months. It's been 25 years.
Interesting.
And they sent hundreds of thousands of people to labor camps and prisons, tortured them. And there's just tremendous amount of evidence that these people are being killed for their organs, that are for organ transplant tourism, sold in some cases to Americans, not knowing where the organs are coming from. And this practice has spread to other groups like Uyghurs and potentially others. So to get back to your question, so this is a persecution campaign that they've run for 25 years that they claim internationally does not exist. They claim they banned Falun Gong according to law and everybody's treated really well. And I can tell you a personal story about how that, I saw that face to face when I was in China. And here we are, people who practice Falun Gong like myself and people who escape persecution in China, people who lost family members to torture in China, creating this amazing, beautiful performance. And when people see the show, they know these people practice Falun Gong. They say, oh, these people look like well-balanced, talented individuals who are happy and doing what they love.
And that's what it could be.
Dismantles their narrative. And
that's what it could be if they weren't living under the oppression. 100%.
And that's exactly right.
I want to ask you,
Taiwan, where it's free.
Yes, and I want to ask you this.
That's the other reason.
I want to ask you. Obviously, there's been a lot going on with sanctions and banning, members of our own government. Peter Navarro was sanctioned by China. You see different members of Congress sometimes talk about the fact that they're not allowed in China because they've spoke out. You yourself, I believe, you are banned or sanctioned by China. So
completely
blacklisted. So what is the process and protocol when China is expelling and banning people? Is this a common practice? Why are they doing it in America? I guess everyone involved in this, are they blacklisted in some way? They can't go back? What's going on with that? And how do those people live with this on their back?
Yeah, so we've seen this on both ends of the border. So we've had people who wanted to join Shenyun from China, top artists there, because this is classical Chinese dance. Some of the best dancers in the world have come from China. A lot of them are with us now, but there's still some people there that wanted to join us, and then some were arrested, and some were detained and disappeared, and we don't know what happened to them, and just for wanting to join Shenyun. On the other end of the spectrum, for example, my MC partner on stage, a Chinese woman, her father was ill in China, and she couldn't go back and see him one last time. And that's the kind of story that's not going to make headlines. It's not going to be breaking news, but this is the reality for these people here, for standing up for what they believe is right, for speaking out. And then when you have people who are active outside of China in some way that is critical of the Chinese Communist Party, if they can go back to China and visit family and come back out, that is very, very suspect. That tends to suggest that they've been co-opted in some way, because they keep tabs on everybody. They know our email addresses, our phone numbers, our friends, where we like to eat. They know everything. And that's without even accounting for the listening device that we all carry in our pockets. So they clearly keep tabs on all of us, especially if you're outspoken about the Chinese Communist Party or are a member of Shenyun. So we've gotten death threats. I've had people impersonate me and send death threats in my name. There's all these crazy things going on. And when people do go to China, be they journalists, which may explain some things that we're seeing in media, or politicians, they have a whole set of things that they can do. The honey traps, drugging people, getting them on camera with prostitutes, you name it. And not, let alone just a simple bribing. Hey, we want to work with you, do something for us on the other side. And so all of this is part of this intense coercion and what we're calling now transnational repression or malign influence campaign of the Chinese Communist Party, because you're right, it's not satisfied with controlling what's happening inside China. It wants to control the narrative about China internationally. And they're playing a long game. You know, they don't make plans for like the next election, 2 years, midterm elections, 4 years. They're planning 50 years out, 100 years out. How are we, the Chinese Communist Party, going to dominate the world? Yeah, they want to dominate.
They want to dominate China's, the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and the irony
they
is
want
that
they want
China
to be
was
at the top.
really like. They want to be the top.
Yeah,
they
and
want
what it could be
defeating the United States. Yeah. Exactly, but that means taking the U.S. down, and that's where you get into the fentanyl kind of stuff, and you get into the things in terms of controlling narratives and the fox hunts of sending people, arresting them and expatriating them back to China in the United States. Chinese operatives, agents that have tried to undermine our organization. It goes on and on.
It is. Yeah, you're actually right. Actually, it's something that isn't talked about enough. Actually, you make a good point. The fact that they dumped the fentanyl in this country to lower us as a people and cause us problems domestically as they, seek to implement what they want overseas. And then anybody who talks against it, really, obviously they are following them. And anybody who even just shows free cultural expression of what it could be in a free society of China, like you guys, they come after you, which is unbelievable. Yeah. How can audience, before we wrap here, how can audiences follow you and learn more and then go see the show?
So in the tri-state area, we still have performances coming up in NJPAC in Newark, first week of May. You can find our tickets at shenyun.com. To learn more about the company and our culture and why we do what we do and understand who we really are, because there's been a lot of other narratives in the media that we find are really not accurate, you can go to shenyunperformingarts.org. To learn more about the artist, you can go to Shenyun Voices. That's a podcast that I have talking to some of the performers, letting them speak out on their own. But really for tickets, to see the show, shenyun.com. We'll be in Newark. We have about 3 weeks of shows left. We're going to be in Chicago, all over the country, all over the world. We have 8 companies right now touring at the same time.
Yes, well, guys, make sure, and I see it, and being in New Jersey, I see the billboards everywhere, and Frankie and I are going to go see the show. Producer Frankie, we appreciate you coming on, sir. Guys, make sure you go check out Shenyun. It is really spectacular, and again, we talk about the CCP a lot, and it's something that is giving China a bad rap, but it doesn't have to be like that. There's another beautiful side that you should all experience. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And we'll be right back with so much more. Do not go anywhere.
Beautiful.
All right, you got it. And thank you, sir. And thank you, producer Frankie. And thank all of you out there. Obviously, sticking with us. And a lot of people talking about the CCP. I see people, talking about it and sounding off on it, saying Bruce Lee, talking about CCP is evil and they're demons. This is true.
I'm excited to check it out.
CCP doesn't want people to know China could be free.
Me and Mike are going. And I've been wanting to go for a while.
We are going.
It's been like, I was first introduced to this like maybe 5 years ago at the mall. Just a pamphlet. I'm like, all right, this is cool. And now it's like, it's crazy maybe that may have been longer than that, but it's crazy to see how it's grown. And I'm excited to actually check it out.
Yes. So Frankie and I will be there. We'll have the popcorn ready, and you should all go check it out too. And I want to tell you guys, as we roll on here about our next sponsor of the show, who is making all of what we're doing possible, and those are our friends over at iTarget Pro. Guys, head on over to itargetpro.com right now and use promo code Crispy for 10% off your order today. Guys, iTarget Pro is an amazing product. It's a revolutionary laser firearm home training system. What does that mean? It means that you could train with your firearm in the comfort of your home. Okay, today, you don't have to spend money on costly ammo. You don't have to spend money on going to the gun range. You could train with your firearm in your home with an iTarget Pro. Guys, it has a laser bullet ammo size that corresponds to your firearm. You load it in there, and it dry fires into the target or the cubes you see right here, and you can track and trace your accuracy in real time. So go get it. It makes an amazing gift. We have Mother's Day, Father's Day, everything's coming up, and an iTarget Pro is an amazing gift that is guaranteed to put a smile on the face of anybody in your family for any gift. So be the sharpest shooter that God intended you to be. The Democrats are trying to keep the illegals in the country in perpetuity. You got police officers who are still acting as camp counselors for these illegal migrant criminals on their illegal migrant vacation. So police response times are high. You got to go to iTarget Pro right now, and you got to be able to equip yourself to be able to defend yourself. Having a gun in the house is great, but you got to know how to use it. And an iTarget Pro is the way to go. My father uses it. My whole family does. Frankie uses it. We've been using it for 5 years now. So go get yours today. Promo code CRISPY while this deal lasts. Frankie, how we doing?
I'm fantastic, Mike. It's been a while. Miss you. You know, I love having our guests on, but I don't get to talk. I'm back. What's up?
All right. All right, we love Frankie. So Skylar Lee, good stopping by to say hi. Had meetings at work, but starting the show now, can't miss it. I guess there are people who watch the show like we're live, but they're watching like the first minute of it right now. I guess there's some of those diehard. Shout out to you guys. We love you. And shout out to all of our late viewers. Again, the show, gets thousands of viewers who watch after the live. So we appreciate all of the people who watch the show. And obviously our audience at Last Call on Real America's Voice. Super excited about what we're doing there. As really we just ramp that thing up, and I think, sky's the limit, right, Frankie? We got a lot of cool things in store.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a matter of Frankie and I just getting it done, because Frankie and I got a lot of things we want to get done. So, without further ado, Frankie, let's get back into that RFK stuff.
I love it. And we're on in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. Mike Crispy here, and I wanted to talk about what happened yesterday. Something very big, something very near and dear to Frankie and mine's heart, is what we saw happen yesterday. Now, some people, again, this is where I say, your favorite podcaster. I'm not going to name names, but if you notice, if you go back in the record, Frankie and I never were bashers of RFK Jr. Just never were. We believe that RFK Jr. had amazing points that he was making. And some people were saying he should be out of the race and he should drop out. And I said, listen, at the end of the day, earned media for running for president means something, and that RFK Jr. will do the right thing. It was very evidently clear, as people like Frankie and I followed it, that would happen. Some people, again, conservative podcasters that you might even watch sometimes, chose to attack RFK Jr. We never did that on the show. We always liked RFK Jr. because at the end of the day, I understand that not everyone's going to be 100% lockstep aligned with what we want all the time on everything. But I think we can delineate through watching somebody and listening to somebody if their character and their heart is in the right place, they're doing something for the right reasons with a passion. I can respect anybody who's doing something for the right reasons in their heart and mind. What I don't like is, and what I thoroughly reject, are leftists who are co-opted, who do things, and it's dubious, and deep down you can tell that what they're saying is dubious, that they know it's dubious, but they do it anyway, and they're just liars. RFK Jr. is never that guy. RFK Jr. always, in my opinion, and I know in Frankie's opinion too, was doing what he was doing for reasons he believed was right. That's why we never attacked him. And that's why, obviously, we're extremely elated the fact that he got the HHS secretary position, which, again, wouldn't have been possible without him running for president. It's something, again, just the reality. You had to run. You have to get all that attention. You got to get the attention on the subject. You got to get a base of support. He brought that base of support to Trump. It was huge. RFK Jr. yesterday carried out what he said he would carry out, which is amazing. He didn't get bought off by the big food companies. No, he carried out something he's been talking about for a long time. And I think it's the start of many great things to come. Take a look at this. Frankie, pop this on the screen. We have Fruit Loops. 2 bowls of Fruit Loops. We have a Fruit Loop bowl in America, and we have a Fruit Loop bowl in Europe. Now, the bowl on the bottom looks more colorful and more fun, but the bowl on the bottom causes childhood diseases and chronic conditions and has ingredients that you would perhaps put in a engine or a mechanical contraption. and it makes it look more red and more colorful. On the top, you see what the Fruit Loops look like in Europe. Again, Europe isn't exactly, the freedom-loving, conservative world of what RFK has always been trying to do. But for some reason, they have better food standards than we do. The big ag, as they call them, big food, big ag, and big pharma have all gotten together to really sell out our children and allow chemicals to be put in the food, which causes really a manipulation of their brain function at a young age. I mean, the red dye and the other things and the vaccines and the ingredients in the food, it is linked to diabetes, it's linked to autism, it's linked to ADD and ADHD, and a variety of other conditions. Millions of dollars are made from the pharma companies, and millions of dollars are made by the food companies who use this cheap stuff, this addictive stuff, to get people on it, to make higher profit margins, you know the rest. Yesterday, they did something that should have been done decades ago, but I guess Rachel Randy Levine was too busy talking about, trans health and human services than, everybody else. Kind of interesting and bizarre. They banned it yesterday. Roll it.
Today, the FDA is taking action to remove petroleum-based food dyes from the U.S. food supply and from medications. For the last 50 years, American children have increasingly been living in a toxic soup of synthetic chemicals. The scientific community has conducted a number of studies raising concerns about the correlation between petroleum-based synthetic dyes and several health conditions, such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, obesity, diabetes, insulin resistance, cancer, genomic disruption, GI issues, as I've seen in the hospital, and allergic reactions. For example, this Lancet study conducted a randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled study on food dyes and concluded that artificial colors in the diet, quote, result in increased hyperactivity. So why are we taking a gamble?
It's interesting. It's like they talk about how, kids these days can't pay attention in school and their brains are all haywired. And, here's the thing. Parents don't look at this and go, oh, it's from the food. They don't know any better. I mean, they're working hard. And you would think at the very least, the government, like the very basic function, they wouldn't allow poison to be introduced in the food supply for kids. Frankie, we've been following the RFK stuff together. What say you in this matter?
Yeah, this was just so incredible. And it was a long press conference. I recommend to the viewers you watch that at length with all of the different people explaining what their roles are and obviously ending with RFK, which we'll play some of. But I will just say the way I happen to get home, you know me, Mike, I'm doing a million things. I'm editing this, I'm filming that. I'm all over the place. I get to my apartment and I got a million things going through my head. I'm like, let me just have Fox on in the background. And I put on Fox and it was live, this press conference, and RFK was there. And my actual experience watching that press conference would be, in my opinion, only second to, because I wasn't alive for it, but I would imagine that was how people felt when they thought we landed on the moon. That's how I felt when I watched that press conference. I was so I had chills. I was just like, we made it. We finally made it, and we're gonna stop killing people.
We're actually doing something.
Yeah.
It's like we're actually not seeing lip service bullshit. And by the way, listen, I'm gonna call a spade here. Who in the Trump cabinet is doing all the stuff right now that we like? RFK, Tulsi. Okay, Trump himself is getting stuff done. Hegseth is getting stuff done. Who's kind of doing bullshit right now? Pam Bondi. What's Pam Bondi? Pam Bondi arrested anybody yet?
Dude, I'm done.
What's Pam Bondi doing?
Blondie.
Besides going on Fox News every day.
Yeah.
What's she doing? She gonna do anything? Task force this, task force that. Pam Bondi, she's been good in some regards, but she's an original Jeb Bush supporter. It's like she's part of like that career system. So she's a Republican. People get mad at RFK Jr. We're like, no, RFK Jr. although we don't agree with everything, he's in this for the right reasons. Hegseth came in, I go, this guy's in this for the right reasons. Who have been the consequential people in the admin, Frankie? It's been Tulsi, former Democrat, Hegseth, who didn't need this, millions of dollars on TV as a star, and RFK Jr. and Trump.
I would have Noam there, but listen, if you're going to let someone rob your purse, you're off the list. Sorry, sweetheart.
How are you the Homeland Security Secretary and you let them rob your purse? I like Noam.
And why do you have $3,000 in cash? I mean, it's really
it's kind of interesting that she had $3,000 in cash. I kind of like Noam. I liked how she went to the El Salvadorian prison with the $60,000 watch. I'm like, yeah, it's American exceptionalism. Great. I wasn't. People were knocking her for it. I'm like, no, I think that's cool actually. She wears the little girl boss vest. You know, she's got the hair. You know, she comes out at the DHS meeting to Hot Mama, which is a song I've never heard about, but apparently that's the name of the song, and I don't know the song, but I think it's pretty funny. Great. I mean, like, I like it. I kind of like
different
it.
opinions.
You know, and someone's like, but Frankie, somebody said to me, here's why I like it. Somebody said to me, they're like, oh, Trump has got all like, like the hot ladies like in these positions and all this, and I go, you know what? You're mad about that. I said the Democrats just had gay trainee blacks in all these positions. So it's like, you're like, so like if this is like, the very like disproportionately represented official capacity people, like under Biden, it was like gay trainee blacks. And now under Trump, it's like, hot middle-aged women. I would rather the hot middle-aged women.
You're saying
the
if the deep state is the deep state and nothing changes regardless, you'd prefer some nice looking women. I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, but I don't think Noam is deep state. Now Bondi, I don't know what's going on with Bondi. I'm not happy about Bondi. But yeah, I think if people are gonna be in and not get something done, I would rather it be the hot middle-aged women than the gay tranny blacks. I mean, we'll talk more about this on Last Call. I actually think this is something worth exploring. It's worth exploring. Frankie, make a note. Gay, tranny, black officials. Biden.
You take care of that.
Okay. Yeah, the luggage thieves. So I'd rather have I'd rather hot moms, right? That's much more trusting group than, the luggage thief. Anyway, back to RFK. I don't know how we get on that. So RFK Jr., amazing, getting something done. And this was a big moment where we finally said, you know what? We're getting things done. That will echo through the history of time. Let's go. Roll it, Frankie.
We are spending as much on mitochondrial disorders like diabetes as we spend on our military budget. We can't continue to exist like this. And the problem is industry is making money on keeping us sick. As Jay pointed out, ADHD is associated with all these behavioral disorders. But those disorders are treated not by changing our diet, but providing medications to treat our kids. And they get medicated, and that's the only solution. And, I would point out that there is part of the etiology of these diseases is a kind of media malpractice. Mass psychosis that has our media not talking about this. And one of the possible reasons for that is the amount of money that's coming from the pharmaceutical companies into our media and from these food companies for the advertising. The advertising has at least plays a factor. So that revenue, that extraordinary revenue stream, in disabling their capacity or their inclination for skepticism and for critical thinking. So Americans don't know what they're eating, and they don't know the implications of those things.
As Frankie would say, it was the equivalent of when people watched the moon landing. And I really do believe, Frankie,
well, there's a very distinct
Democrat.
difference, Mike. This actually is happening.
Yes,
sorry.
Frankie said that, not me. for my future congressional campaign. Mike Crispy said the moon landing was fake. Okay, no.
Just his producer.
Okay, I'm not saying anything about it.
And
I have
he's
no
right.
opinion on it. Okay, I have no opinion on the moon landing. Okay, you want to do a quote? I have no opinion on it. I think we should go back soon sometime. How about that? That's all I'm saying. I think we should go back soon. I have no opinion on it. Did we land on the moon? Yes, we landed on the moon. But I think we should go back. And my producer might disagree with me, but okay, not everybody who works with you agrees with you and everything. So, anyway, I believe obviously big moment, and I would like to see how the left covers this. Is the left going to now bash RFK? RFK Jr. is going to drive the cost of food prices up. It's like, what are they going to say? Are they going to cover anything positively? Again, I'd respect them a little bit if they could cover like one little snippet of a thing positively. Particularly a guy RFK that they used to cover positively all the time when he was a Democrat. Boom. There you go. Mic drop. All right, guys, that's about all the time that we have on the show today. You guys know what we do in this program. We keep it America first. We keep it bold. We always keep it unafraid. And you better believe we are just getting started. I thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you back live next time.